Hebrew session 1 here. This is Hebrew session. Wait, so I'm hoping to do 8 sessions total, and in those 8 sessions, have you basically, if you're here for all 8 and you do all the homework, you will be able to get behind a Torah scroll and read a Torah scroll. You may not completely understand everything that you're reading, but you will be able to read it, and then you can translate it eventually through there. And I'm going to give you resources on how to translate what you are reading. Who does not have a notebook of some kind? Even for you guys back there, if you want a notebook. These were on clearance at Walmart, so I picked up several. Yeah, you want one, Brian? You want this one? Yeah. The hot pink one. Anybody else need a notebook? You got some extras? Yeah, we got lots of extras. Anybody else? Yeah.
Okay.
Which one you want, bud? Your choice. Sure. And does anybody have any extra writing utensils? I don't have any. Maybe if someone doesn't have one, they can. Oh, okay. So if you have an extra, if you need an extra utensil, see Todd. Let me see if this will reach around here. Uh-oh. Now I gave you all homework last time before you started class. I said memorize the Hebrew alphabet, and Stacy said I think that's a little too harsh. So I said I got to set the bar high, you know. If they at least memorize some of it, feeling the pressure I put on them, then that's better than none. But how many of you want to read something like this? You know, isn't that exciting to be able to read something like this? This is yeah.
Would you pin this on your lapel?
Oh, sure. This is a little microphone. Let's go straight to Obama's desk. Is that what he's listening to? Okay. Hello, bro. All right, so this is straight from Numbers chapter 25. This is Et Breti, covenant, Breti, Shalom. This is talking about Pinchas getting the covenant of Shalom with the broken vav I taught you about. Here's the word kina. Kina, what we said is zeal or jealousy. This word kina. So, like I said, at the end of this 8-week course, you will be able to read this. And we may even come back to this. If you remind me, I can come back to this and you can read it, and I'll show you. Hebrew is a lot easier than what you would think. It's easier than English. How many of you speak a different language? What language do you speak? A little bit Spanish? Okay. What do you speak?
Yeah.
Spanish as well?
Italian,
Okay. Yeah, if you speak Spanish or one of the Romance languages, you're actually going to be better at learning Hebrew because the sounds that are for or a are more true to the Hebrew language. Like in Spanish, like what's a Spanish word that you would say? Sábado for Saturday, right? Sábado. In English, we would say sábado. We say but in Spanish, you would say sábado. Sábado. That's more true to the Hebrew sound. There is no sound per se in Hebrew. Let me pull up my notes here, and then we'll jump into the lesson. So, if you want to title your notes Hebrew Session 1, Biblical Hebrew Session 1, why Biblical Hebrew? Because Biblical Hebrew is different than modern Hebrew. It's considerably different. You could, in theory, go to Israel and read the Hebrew signs and understand what they're saying, but you would not be able to converse with modern Israelis with using biblical Hebrew. It's kind of like if I came in and started speaking King James English to you all, you'd be like, this guy's kind of a weirdo. You would hear and understand most of what I'm trying to say, but you would be really confused as to why I'm speaking like King James. Or like Old English, you know. So first question I have is, why would we want to learn Hebrew? Why are you about to devote an hour of your time to learning Hebrew? Any thoughts? If you want to go to, yeah. You want to sound smart. Yeah. Yeah. It's like you're drinking really far upstream, right? You ever been to the Mississippi River in Louisiana, like New Orleans? Have you ever been to the Mississippi River up in Wisconsin and Minnesota? Two different rivers, right? Same river, but completely different in terms of the quality of the water, the clarity of the water. So when you're studying the scriptures from a Hebrew perspective, you're drinking that Mississippi water that's way up in the headwaters, right? And not that muddy stuff that's down. My dad grew up in Memphis, so I was very familiar with the muddy Memphis. So what's another reason to learn Hebrew? What's another reason?
I think I was reading in Isaiah the other day, but it said something about elder restores my people wanting pure tongue.
Yeah, that's Zephaniah 3:9. Yeah, Zephaniah 3:9. He'll restore us back to a pure tongue. Hebrew is a pure tongue. Yeah. Why else? Did Yeshua speak Hebrew? Are we his disciples? What does a disciple do? They imitate their teacher, right? In every respect that they possibly can. Alexander the Great, I love military history. Alexander the Great was known for being a general that was one of the kindest generals in terms of respecting religions and faiths and cultures. But one of the things that he did, he would set up schools for people to come and learn the language that was spoke by the empire. So he had this theory that language changes culture gradually, and actually eventually more potently than going in with force and trying to forcibly change culture. Language changes culture. And so as we learn the Hebrew language, the language of our master, the language of the Bible, it will change our culture as well. I want to go ask you some questions. What Hebrew words do you already know? Just shout some out to me. Shalom, yeah. Let me get a pen real fast. You're going to be surprised at how many Hebrew words you already know. We got shalom. Here, I'm going to do it. Shalom. Yeshua. I heard Yeshua. I heard Shabbat. Elohim. That's a good one. That's a good one.
Moedim.
Sorry, you can't see. I'll get out of the way in a second. Moedim, which are the holy called out times. Adonai. Kadosh, which means holy or set apart. Gadol, yeah, that's a good one, which means large or great. Gadol, like Kohen Gadol, the high priest, the number one high priest. Yeah. Lila Tov, yeah, we'll say Lila. We'll just say Lila. But let's go with Tov. That's easier. Let's go with Tov. So you guys, you probably know 5 times as many Hebrew words. Here, let me give you a few. Satan, Satan, is a Hebrew word. It means someone who opposes. Did you know the angel, when he opposed Bilam and he stood in his way, it says that he became a Satan for him, an adversary, an opponent. It says that right there in the Hebrew in the text. What's another one? Kabash. You ever heard, hey, put the kabash on that? That's a Hebrew word. It means to stop it. It means to put the kibosh on something means to make it come to a stop. What's another one? Well, I heard echad, yeah. What's more like everyday word that you already know? Yes. Abba, yeah, Abba's a good one. Abba is actually Aramaic. That comes from the word av, but Aramaic is kind of a cousin language to Hebrew. It took in some maybe some more Arabic kind of terms as well. But Av would be father. Yeah. Anybody else? There's a lot that we use in our everyday vernacular that I had a list at one point. I don't know what happened to that list, but yeah, you guys already know a lot of Hebrew words. You know a lot of vocabulary, but you don't know how to read these words in Hebrew yet. And I'm going to teach you today. We're going to actually do a little exercise if we have time. Hebrew is the only language historians, as far as they know, it's the only language that was a national language spoken by millions of people that went completely dormant and off the radar as a nationally spoken language, and then came back as a national language. It's the only language that linguistics know of that did that. It's a resurrected language. I'm going to give you a few people who studied Hebrew. It's going to surprise you. And look up more. There's many, many more than this. Who remembers William Bradford from your history class? Yeah, he founded the Plymouth colony, right? In the early 1600s. Yeah, or late 1600s. William Bradford had a late life obsession with Hebrew, and he taught himself to read and write in Hebrew. He would send over to England, he would request Hebrew documents be mailed to him so he could translate them and write them and copy them. He was obsessed with Hebrew late in his life. Sir Isaac Newton, who remembers that guy? He had an obsession with Hebrew. Let me show you a photo of actually one of his journals.
You're unplugged.
Yeah, I'll plug it if I can hear it. I just didn't want to see you see my secret notes. Sir Isaac Newton had a late life obsession with Hebrew. He had this theory that all the scientific laws in the universe were hidden in a code inside the Hebrew Bible. That would be Sir Isaac Newton. Here's a picture of his journal. Sorry, can you guys see that? So, as you can see, right here, I'll read it to you. Baruch Shem Kavod Malchuto Leolam Vayed. What is that from? Baruch Shem Kavod Malchuto Leolam Vayed. Yeah, part of the Shema. Yeah, it means basically, blessed be his name, whose glorious kingdom is forever and ever. Yeah. So this is Sir Isaac Newton's handwriting right here that you're looking at. And he had an obsession with the Hebrew language. He's actually writing the second verse of the Shema. Isn't that interesting?
You have the vowel points.
Yeah, he's got the vowel points and everything. Who's another person who was obsessed with Hebrew? Anybody watch football in the 80s and 90s? I wasn't born yet. Anybody ever heard of a man named Reggie White? Yeah. Reggie White had a late life obsession with Hebrew. Yeah. He taught himself to read Hebrew. He had some rabbis come in and teach him to read Hebrew. There's many, many more that had an obsession with Hebrew that we know of. Presidents, United States presidents, world leaders were obsessed with Hebrew. They just knew that there was something in it. The Holy Spirit was moving in them. There's something beautiful about the Hebrew language. Sir Isaac Newton knew that there was a code in the Hebrew Bible, and he knew that code was in there. He just didn't have the computing abilities to find that code. And it's not until we have computers like we have today that are strong enough to take all the letters of the Hebrew Bible, input them into a computer, and they basically scan each other and kind of it's hard to explain, but they find all these acrostics in the Hebrew Bible where they have things like there's two books called the Bible Code by Michael Drosnin. They have things like September 11 World Trade Centers that intersect each other in the Hebrew letters, all kinds of stuff like that. Assassinations of Abraham Lincoln, all kinds of weird stuff like that that's actually embedded in the Hebrew Bible. But Michael Drosnin wrote two books on it called the Bible Code. The thing that frustrates them is they can only find stuff in it after it happens. They search key terms, and they can find those things only after those events happen. They don't know how to search things in the future. So, let's get down to it. The Hebrew alphabet consists of how many letters? 22 letters, not to be confused with how many chromosomes are in your body, which is 23. So 22 letters in the Hebrew alphabet. There's no numbers. The letters have a dual purpose. They serve as the numbers. There's no punctuation marks. So if you don't like punctuation, you're in luck. The Masoretes later on did start to play around with some punctuation a little bit, but in an original Torah scroll, there's no punctuation. There's no capital or lowercase letters. So that way it's easier. And you read it right to left. Do you know that most languages this side of Jerusalem are read left to right? And then on the other side of Jerusalem, most of them are read right to left, both pointing towards Jerusalem. But not all of them. It doesn't 100% carry through. But so, that being said, let's look at the Hebrew alphabet. Now, did anybody want to fess up and memorize the Hebrew alphabet? Yeah? Good. Okay, we're going to go through it. Let me actually pull up my slide here if I can find my Hebrew alphabet. I think I posted it for you guys on the Facebook page, on the DMF Facebook page, if I'm not mistaken. I'd really like to find it, but my screen's so small. Did anybody see that and print that out? That
Yeah, I have it here. I printed yours out. That's-
yeah. I wish I could find mine and project it up.
This one?
Yeah. This is on the Israel Bible's website. This right here, it's really handy, and I wish I could find it on my laptop because I could project it up and we can go through it. If you go to the Israel Bible and just search Hebrew alphabet, it'll come up.
Is that .com?
I'm not certain. If you just Google it, that'll come up that way. But I'd really like to find it because then I could project it up here for you guys. I'll have it next week, I guess. Stacy, is she back here? No? Oh, okay, never mind. I was gonna have her look. Okay, so let's go. If you have those charts out, or if you have a device like a smartphone, you could pull up the Hebrew alphabet on your smartphone and do it that way. We gotta love technology, right? And what we're going to do is we're going to read through this together, but I'm going to take it one letter at a time and explain how to pronounce each letter, and then we're going to read through it all together in unison. Okay. The first letter you see up here is called an aleph. Everybody say aleph. Aleph. The aleph is usually silent unless there's a vowel point given to it. It's usually silent unless there's a vowel. Aleph. Aleph is the symbol for shorthand for our Creator. It's shorthand for God, Hashem. It's aleph. All right. The next letter is bait. And it just makes a B sound. It's very phonetic. Hebrew is very phonetic. It's true to the b. It makes a b sound. The next one, if you notice, there's the bait with a dot. Bait, b. I remember that because it sounds like you have a plug in your mouth, in between your lips. B. There's like pressure. But if there's no plug in the bait, it goes vait. It flows out and makes a V sound. So there's a bait and a vait. Okay? The next one is called a gimel. Can you guys say gimel? Gimel, yeah, gimel. A gimel makes a g sound. G, like a G. The next one is dalet. Say dalet. And it makes a what sound? D sound. Duh. So let's review. So far we have aleph, bait, vait, gimel, dalet. The next one is hey, and it makes a h sound. H. All right, hey. The next one is a vav. Now, in some Jewish sects, this vav is actually pronounced as a wal. It's more of a W sound. It's mainly, I want to say, in Yemenite communities, which are like Jordanian or maybe Saudi Arabian Jews. They say wal instead of vav. They say wal or wow. Yep,
Yeah,
that's it.
TheIsraelBible.com.
TheIsraelBible.com. Thank you. Cool. Yeah. So vav. Vav is also number 6, but it typically will make a V sound, a V. There are slight variations of a vav. And let me write them up here. So we have a regular V. Okay, that's the vav that says v. Then there's a vav where someone threw a basketball too hard and it hit him in the stomach. And what do you say when you get hit by a ball in the stomach? You go, ooh. You go, ooh, like that. So here we have the vav getting hit by a ball in the stomach, and he's going, ooh. Okay? So that sounds like a double O, like ooh. Okay? And then we have a third type of vav, and you can write these in your notes too, where he's catching the ball above his head. And what do you say when you catch a ball above your head? Oh, I got it. Oh, I got it. Okay, so you pass it. It almost slipped past his hands, but he reached up and he got it. He said, oh, I got it. So it makes more of like an OH. Oh. Okay? 3 types of vavs. If it doesn't have a dot, it says va. If it has a dot in his belly, he says ooh. If he has a dot up high, he says oh. Okay? And that'll kind of become second nature eventually. Okay? 3 types of vavs. The next letter is a zayin. Can you guys say zayin? Zayin. Not to be confused with zion. A zayin is a word for like a weapon. Zion. It makes a z. It always makes a z sound. Z. Okay? The next letter right here is chet. And it always says that guttural, the back of your, and you'll get used to using that muscle back there. It takes practice, Just like if you're learning Spanish, you roll your R's, right? Like barajas. So if you get used to chet, you know how to use that muscle, just like you get used to rolling your R's. But chet, okay, it's in the back of your throat. Chet. You don't want to overdo it, but yeah, you got to get some spit back there, you know. Chet. But you get used to that. The next one is a tet, and it makes a t sound. T. It always makes a t sound. Okay, tet. The next letter is yud. A yod is a hand. Yud is a hand. It's a little hand coming down. If you notice, the aleph, the very first letter in our alphabet, is a vav, it's two hands being connected by a vav. Okay, so you have two hands, and the sages say that it's the hand of God reaching down and the hand of man reaching up. It's being connected by a vav in the middle. We know that a vav represents a man. And some people say, oh, that's the Levites, that's the priest. We would see it as Yeshua. He's connecting us to God. Right? He's the reconciliation, the propitiation. All right? So a yod is like a hand. It's like a little hand. This is when Yeshua says in Matthew 5, not a yod or a stroke will pass from the Torah. This is the yod. There's a story that says that when Solomon was writing his copy of the Torah scroll, as kings were commanded to, the scribe that was in charge of watching him turned his back to look somewhere else. And as he did that, Solomon left off a little yud, where it says, you shall not take many wives for yourself. He left off one yud, making it, you should take many wives for yourselves. And so it ultimately led to his spiritual demise and ultimately the splitting of the nation of Israel and the dispersion of the tribes of Israel, because he left off that little tiny yud. So when Yeshua says, not a single stroke will by any means pass from the Torah, his listeners would have, oh wow, he's talking about Solomon leaving off a stroke from the Torah and causing the spiritual demise of his kingdom and the fall of his kingdom. So that's the yod. It's the smallest letter, but it's very, very important. What else is yod? Where do you see what word do you see yod? Yod He Vav He. Yeah, it's the tetragrammaton. Yod He Vav He, the four-letter name of God. No one really knows for sure how to pronounce. Yod He Vav He. It's the first letter in God's name. This is I'm looking at backwards. Oh, this is Kaf. Kaf is the way I remember it is you turn around when you're eating at a table like this and you got to cough really bad. You turn around and you say, that's the same sound that a cough makes. Yeah, it's a k like that. Okay, like you're coughing. Cough. All right. You see the one with the dot? That just says a straight k. The one without the dot is a more guttural ch, or like a chaf. Okay. And we see that. No, we don't see that anymore. There's a third type of cough, and that's what's called a final cough. Final cough. We see that in the word baruch. That's a cough at the end of a word. And this letter takes on what's called a final form, or a sophite form, a final form, cough. And it makes the same sound. It's a guttural like that, but it's like a baruch. All right? There's three forms of the same letter, cough. The next letter is a lamed. In Hebrew, the word lamed means to learn or to teach. So I am lameding Hebrew to you right now. It's the idea of a shepherd's staff. If you look at the word lamed, it's a shepherd's staff. All right, it has a little crook in it, because what did the shepherd do? As a sheep would wander off, the shepherd would take his little staff and he would grab the little sheep and hook it around his neck and yank him back to the flock. Right? That's what a teacher does. And a teacher also, a shepherd, will take his staff and he'll use it to fend off wolves, right, and defend the sheep. Get back. But he'll also use it to help him walk. He'll use it to guide the sheep to green pastures. That's what a shepherd does. That's what a teacher does, is he leads them beside still waters and green pastures, and he feeds them, right? So that's a lamed, to teach. The next one is a mem. Mem has two forms. It makes a m sound. It has two forms. You have a mem and then a mem sophite, or a final mem that we would see at the end of a word, like the word mayim. Mayim has a final mem attached to it. It's a closed mem. You notice the difference. One is open, one is closed. We see in the prophecy of Isaiah of a Savior being born to a virgin, The sages preserved what's called a closed mem. And normally a closed mem would happen at the end of a word because it's a final mem. But for some reason, the prophet Isaiah put it inside of a word. And it's talking about the waters of the womb not being broken. But the virgin is still able to give birth, even though her waters were not broken. So that's in there. It's an anomaly that's in the Torah. The next one is a nun. A nun. Nun makes a n. So the word Noah would start with a letter nun. Nun means fish. Has a couple other, but mainly fish, like a nun is. All right. The next one is a final nun. You would see at the end of a word, like what's one? Lema'an. No. Laman. Laman. The man in the Bible, Laman. His name would end with a final nun. The only thing is it drops down. The bottom drops out from under it like a trap door. You see that final nun? So the next letter is a samek. Samek, it makes a s sound. Samech. Samech. That. It always makes an S sound. S sound. Like a sedur. Sedur. I don't know if they have it in Hebrew. But a sedur, I believe, starts with the letter samek. Samek. The next one is an ayin. Ayin. Ayin means eye. Means eye. Could also mean spring, like what boils out of the ground. Water boiling out of the ground. This is the same word for eye as the same word for a spring that comes out of the ground. Just like our eyes are very similar to a spring in that they give forth water sometimes, right? And so is the ayin is similar to a spring. Ayin. And it has a similar, it's in the name Yeshua. But it can change based on the vowels that are given to it. But it typically, more than often than not, will say like an A. The next one is a pei. It makes a P sound. Pei. Pei. And then we've got a fei. You notice the same rule applies. There's a plug in there, isn't there? There's a little dot in the pei. So it makes it pressurized, like pei. But then when you take the dot out, it makes it more like a fei. It makes it softer. Fei. Okay? There's no plug in there holding the pressure back. Fei. And then we have a final pei. Final pei. Pharaoh would start with the letter Fe or Pe. Paro. He starts with this Pe right here. Paro. We're getting almost to the bottom here. The next one is a Sadi. Sadi. If you look at the picture of the Sadi, it looks like a man who's down on his knees and raising his arms up in worship. He's a devout man. A Sadi. A Sadiq is a righteous man, a devout man, like we read about Shimon today. A Sadiq. It's a picture of a man on his knees and he's worshiping. Okay, Sadi. And then we have a final Sadi. So if the Sadi ends at the end of a word, then there's a special way we write that. The next one is a Kuf. Kuf. Not to be confused with a Kaf. A Kuf is where we see Kina. Kina, which is, like I wrote it up here earlier. Kuf, I believe it was noon, and then an Aleph. Sometimes it has a Hey on the end. But Ki-na-a. Kina means zeal. Kina. Okay? So it's a kuf, it makes a K sound. K. So there's a few different letters that make a K sound, isn't there? Like a K. And then the next one we have is like a backwards R. A backwards R. R makes a R sound, right? R. Well, the Resh makes a similar sound. It makes a R sound. Except in Hebrew, you would say it Resh. Resh. Like, and you start in the back of your throat. It's really hard to get, but it's like a Resh. Resh. You almost have to push your tongue down. Resh. Resh. It's hard to describe. Resh. But for the meantime, you'll figure that out. For the meantime, just say Resh. Resh. And people will understand what you're saying. Resh. But it's more like a Resh. Resh. Like that. Like if you go to Israel, you hear people say Resh. All right? Resh has the idea of a head. When you say Rosh Chodesh, Rosh means head or beginning or the first of something. So a Resh is like the beginning of something. All right? A Resh makes an R sound. 2 more letters to go. Sheen. You see how there's a dot over here on the right-hand side of our Sheen? That makes it SH. Shh, shh. Like shh, be quiet. Or Shaddai. Shaddai. El Shaddai. But the Seen with the dot over on the left makes a softer s, like that. So we have sh, sh, and then s. So this one's a sh. This one on the dot on the left is a s. Okay? So that primarily makes an S or an SH sound. similar to the samech. So in Hebrew, you have different letters making the same sounds. So it's kind of like a cheat. Like you don't have to remember that much. Okay, the last letter is tav. Tav always makes a t sound. Now, in the Ashkenazic communities, like if you were to go to a Chabad synagogue, you would hear them saying, good Shabbos. Because in Ashkenazic communities, they pronounce a tav at the end of a word as an S, which confuses things like crazy. So a talit, what you wear like a prayer shawl, a talit. In Israel, they say talit. It ends in a tav. But if you go to an Ashkenazic synagogue, they would say talis. So we're learning Israeli biblical Hebrew, so we're going to always pronounce the tav as a T. Okay, T. In Israel, they go with the mainly Sephardic pronunciation of T. So if you go to Israel right now, you would always hear them say Shabbat Shalom, not Shabbos Shalom. Okay, so but only in Ashkenazic communities do they make that an S sound. I don't know why. Okay, so let's do this. Let's say it 3 times through and familiarize yourself with it a little bit. And we'll start with the Aleph, and with the Tav, okay? We'll say it 3 times through. I like to say 5 letters at a time, but we'll kind of figure out our rhythm as we go, okay? Right here. Aleph, Beit, Gimel, Dalet, Hey, Vav, Zayin, Chet, Tet, Yod, Kaf, Lamed, Mem, Nun, Samik, Ayin, Pei, Sadi, Kuf, Resh, Shin, Tav. You notice I skipped some of the different variations of the letters. It's because I'm primarily going with the main pronunciations that you're going to see most frequently, okay? We're not going to say Aleph, Beit, Veit. We're not going to say that. We're just going to go Aleph, Beit, Gimel, Dalet, Hey, okay? So let's try it again together. Aleph, Beit, Gimel, Dalet, Hey, Vav, Zayin, Chet, Tet, Yod, Kaf, Lamed, Mem, Nun, Samech, Ayin, Pei, Sadi, Kuf, Resh, Shin, Tav. Okay, let's do it one more time. We'll get a little bit faster. But are there any questions so far? Anybody have any questions so far? Okay, cool. We'll keep going. All right, we'll go a little bit faster. Aleph, Beit, Gimel, Dalet, Hey, Vav, Zayin, Chet, Tet, Yod, Kaf, Lamed, Mem, Nun, Samech, Ayin, Pei, Sadi, Kuf, Resh, Shin, Tav. Good job. We'll say it one more time before we quit for the day. We're going to go about 15 more minutes and then we'll be done with our first lesson. Let me show you. Many people get freaked out by the Hebrew language because it does not have any vowels. But that's okay. I'm going to show you why that's okay. It does not have any vowels, but I'm going to write this word and you all are going to read it. What does that say? Thanksgiving. How did you read that? It doesn't have any vowels. But it's implied, right? You know what the vowels are. If you look at a kosher Torah scroll, it's going to look like this, but Hebrew letters. But the context will tell you what the vowels are as you get more familiar with it. What the Masoretes did, the Masoretes are a group of Jewish scribes that got together, and they created the vowel points in the Torah scroll to make it easier for people to learn the language. And that happened after the time of Yeshua. I don't know exactly, after the 1st century at least. They got in and began to make vowel points in sacred text. So if you open up like a Tanakh, some of you have like a Chumash, or if you look at our Siddur, you will see vowel points. And these vowel points were created and codified by the Masoretes. You see here, there's little vowel points in here. If they're kind of a crux, like what is it called? Crutch? Crutch? Yeah, crutch. Yeah, kind of a crutch. Normally, you would start learning the Hebrew language at the age of 3, and if you're in an observant Jewish community, age of 3, you would start learning to read Hebrew, and you would not read it with vowel points. You would start off without vowel points, learning the Aleph Bet. And you would always start with the book of Leviticus. Torah learning always starts with the book of Leviticus. At that age, the sages say that children at that age are pure in heart. They are without impurity, and that book is all about purity. And so it's appropriate that children start learning the book of Leviticus. So, let's go back to our words up here now that we have some time. I'm going to write these words in Hebrew to the best of my ability, and then we're going to try to match them to the English word, okay? I may misspell them in Hebrew, but with the idea. I'm pretty familiar with all these, so we'll see. Now, let's wait till I get all of them up here before you start blurting out answers, okay? So you can be thinking about it, but let me do that. How many do I have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So I should have 9 Hebrew words over here, right? Okay, here's my first one. And if you want to copy these in your notes and try to follow along with me, go ahead and let's do. Sorry, my handwriting might not be the neatest. We're going to match these up here in a second. Yep. Who said that?
So as I'm trying to learn this to prepare for this week, I noticed
Uh-huh.
that there's a cursive version and a block type
Yes.
version. Are you using you're using the block? Right?
I'm using block, yeah.
Okay.
That's a good question. In Israel, there's 2 different types of Hebrew that they use. They use a Hebrew script, which is not used in the Torah scroll. It's not used in the Siddur. It's mainly just used in like newspapers around Israel or on signage in Israel. It's a script. We're not going to even delve into that in this class. We're just going to look at block letters. These block letters, oddly enough, did not look like this pre-Babylonian exile of the Jews. These block letters are mainly influenced by, I guess it would be Aramaic block lettering. The Hebrew language looked completely different than this prior to the Babylonian exile. They looked more like a paleoglyph, like hieroglyphics or something like that. So this is more of a post-Babylonian exile block lettering. But Yeshua would have read a Torah scroll with these block letterings like this. Let me see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7. Oh my goodness. What am I missing? Oh, I know. Here, we'll leave it. Oh, I'm missing. Okay, for the sake of time, we're going to go ahead and start answering some of these. Okay, let's start with the first one right here. We have a yod. How about you guys answer? How about that? We have a yod and then a sheen. See, I can put the dot over here and narrow it down for you. We have a vav catching the ball in there. So what sound is he making? Ooh. And then we have an ayin who typically says ah. Okay, so if we say it a little bit faster, yod makes a ya, and then a sha, oo, ah. So what word? Yeshua. Congratulations, you just read the first Hebrew word ever. You read that. You see how I just sounded out one letter at a time? Just like when you were in first grade reading English. One letter at a time. Yeshua. Yeshua. Which means salvation. Okay, let's go to the next one. So we're good. We got that one. Let's check it off. Let's go to, let me switch colors. What's that first letter there in the first word? What is it? I heard somebody say it. Tav. Tav. It's the last letter in the Hebrew alphabet, so it makes a t sound. T. And then we have, this would actually be the vav catching the ball up above his head. So he's saying O. So it's T, O. And then we have a bait without the plug. So he's saying V, V. Okay? So we have a V. There you go. You just read your, let's put it all together. T, O, V. Tov, which means good. We say Boker Tov. Good morning. Okay? Tov. So we got that one. Tov. We say Hinema Tovu Manani. Oh, how good it is for brothers to dwell in union. All right, let's go to the next word. This is a sheen. So we make an SH. Then we have a lamed. Lamed says la. So I'll put an L there. We have a vav catching the ball above his head. So he's saying oh. And then we have a mem sofit, yeah, or a final mem. So it makes an M sound. So let's sound it out together. Shalom. 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 See, I did that? Top one. Got that one. Okay. Next one. This is an aleph. And it's going to make, I don't have the vowel points in here, but if I did put them in, it would make a like that, okay? The aleph can make different sounds based on the vowel point, okay? It's a mysterious letter. It's like sometimes God is mysterious in his ways. So we have a lamed, makes an L sound. An L sound. Never see that, okay? And then we have a vav above the head saying, oh, I got the ball. So we have El. Sir, don't blurt out, please. Strike one. And we have a hey. Next one, you're going to the office. And we have a hey. It makes a ha sound. Ha. Let me erase it. Then we have a yo that gives it a slight y. And then we have a final mim. It gives it an m. So el o him. Elohim. Elohim, which is one of the names for God. Elohim. All right. Next one. What sound does this make? Yeah, SH sound. Then we have this is actually going to be our bait sound. B. And we have a final letter, which is always a T. So we have Shabbat. Shabbat. So you're reading it without vowel points. And the context lends it, you can Shabbat. I got it, Shabbat. Okay, so there's no vowel points in there, but you're still reading it. This right here, this is a good example where aleph can change in its sound. This is an ah. The dalet makes a what sound? D. Ad. And then he's catching the ball above his head. He's saying O. Ado. Ado. And then there's a noon. Noon says n. So we put it there. Adon. Adon, which means master. Or it could also mean husband. It could mean Lord. And then when you put a yod at the end of it, it means my Lord, or my master, or my husband. Adonai. And God calls himself Adonai in the Torah sometimes. Adonai. All right. He says to Moses that your forefathers knew me as Adonai, and they did not know me as Asher, Aye, Asher. This one right here, we have what letter is this? Kuf. It makes a K sound, a K. K. The dalet makes a what sound? Check some of these off. A D sound. Then we have a vav catching the ball above his head. He's saying, oh, I got the ball. And then a sheen. Sheen makes a SH. So we have this sounded out together. Kadosh. Kadosh, which means holy. Kadosh, holy. Okay. And we can say kadoshim, which is the holy ones. Kadosh, kadosh. Okay. Last one. This is a gimel. Gimel says g. Then we have a dalet. Dalet says duh. And then we have a lamed, which says la. So let's sound this out. G, duh, gadol, gadol. You ever seen the difference in like a little talit, like a small prayer shawl that some men will wear, versus a big prayer shawl that some men will wear? The big one is called a talit gadol. Talit gadol, it means the large talit. A smaller talit is called a talit katan, or a small talit. Okay? Yeah, you just read 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 Hebrew words. Which one? We didn't do moedim. Oh, let's skip that one. All right. The last thing I wanted to do. First, let me give you your homework for next week. How about that? Homework. Okay. I want you to continue to memorize the Hebrew alphabet. Continue to have that down. Say it 3 times a day, every day. You will have it memorized. I promise. Continue to memorize the Hebrew alphabet. And then I got 2 questions for you that I want someone to research in next class. How many words are in a Torah scroll? How many Hebrew words are in a Torah scroll? The sages have gone through and counted them, amazingly enough. How many words are in a Torah scroll? And then I want you to tell me how many letters are in a Torah scroll. How many letters are in a Torah scroll? I don't want you to go through and count all these, but a simple Google search will render you an answer. The last thing we're going to do is we're going to watch a modern scribe writing a copy of the Torah scroll. And this is a 2.5-minute video. I don't know how to make it come up on the screen though. Do I hit that button right there, Bill? You guys enjoy your first class? You feel a little less overwhelmed? No? You're overwhelmed? Okay. That's good. I'm doing my job then.
Of the attempts I've sat in, yes, we can do it.
What?
The other attempts that I've tried to sit in on one, we did good.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, so we got